Thank you for joining us. This is our technically of this series of conversations around race and developing reflections and actions, throughout this time period of COVID-19 and race in our country. My organization really thought it was a good idea for us to use our platforms and to reach out to people in the community like yourselves to have conversations around what's happening in our community and really think around how we can work together and share stories and experiences. So tell us a little bit about yourselves, Shayla, Tiffany, and then we can dive into our conversation, around work you've done and the community and So Oakland. So just tell us a little bit about who you are and we'll go from there.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you again, Taj, and the A's organization for having me and Tiff and the So Oakland organization. So I'm born and raised from Oakland, and I started So Oakland in 2015 as a way to create spaces during gentrification when things really just started to change in our communities. And from that, it just has really grown into this huge platform that has just become the center of information for everything that has to do with the Black and Brown community, the natives, and just having our spaces where we can truly be ourselves. It has really become crucial, especially as Oakland is starting to change for the good and for ways that people who are from here aren't really comfortable with. And we're just trying to bridge this gap between new individuals that come into here that really appreciate and love Oakland and everything about it, and the people that have already been here and have created this culture. And so having these conversations about race, about Oakland, and how to keep it just the beautiful, diverse place that it is very important. So I'm so appreciative to be able to have these conversations with you, appreciative for people that are actually joining in and listening. And So Oakland, we throw a festival every year, just trying to keep everything Oakland and just making sure that our culture just stays the way that it is.
That's what's up.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I was born and raised in San Francisco, Bayview, Hunters Point. I moved to Oakland in about 2015. I connected with Shayla. I heard about So Oakland and everything they had going on, and I wanted to be a part of So Oakland and, just get more involved in the community that I was currently living in. Growing up in the city, it was very important to sow into your community, to sow into, where you live. My father was a community activist. He did a lot for the Bayview community. So deciding to move to Oakland, I wanted to give back here where I would be planning myself, where my kids will be raised, where I will be spending the rest of my years. So I was able to do that in connecting with an organization like So Oakland.
These comments, though, I'm trying to focus.
Right. Well, listen, that's why we're here.
I'm really trying to focus and have this much needed conversation, but this is the main reason why we need to have these conversations, because these comments are disgusting.
Right.
Okay.
And
so continue.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. We're not gonna give energy to anything that's not positive. Okay. But what we will do, guys, is use our platform and our voices to ensure that, we as Black people are taking our opportunity to use our mic.
Absolutely.
And advocate for change. And that's what this is about. I mean, that's why the A's and other organizations across the country have been, taking a stand, so to speak, against racial injustice.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we still have a society, as you've mentioned, some of these comments are just unfortunately, perpetually racist.
Yeah.
And do something about that. So, what do you think in terms of Oakland and how Oakland has changed, over the last few decades, really? What do you think we should be doing in terms of educating members of our community, our elected officials, our corporations? We saw recently you guys just did a partnership with Target, in downtown Oakland or uptown. Tell us a little bit about that partnership with Target and what you did in terms of offering some resources to the community.
Yeah, so I think it's very important for big corps to connect with the local organizations that are actually in the streets and actually have these relationships with the community. I was very appreciative of Target because the way that they came to Oakland, it wasn't about, hey, we have this money and we just want to do something in the community and go about our business and that's it, just to show that we've given back. They really sat down with me and they asked, like, what are the needs and the resources of the community, because we want to make sure we're doing it right. And I told them, I said, the give back is beautiful, the community pantry is beautiful, and it's very much needed. But in order to gain the trust of the community, we need consistency. So you coming in one time and giving back to the community and giving us food and resources and then dipping out is not going to work, because we have trust issues, because that is usually what happens. And so I said, what we need to do is we need more consistency. We need this to be monthly. We need to go into underrepresented areas like East Oakland because they're not touched. And so it was them having me sit at that table and telling them what we need as someone from Oakland, as a Black woman, a representative of the Black community, a representative of the brown community, a representative of the natives, and telling them what we need from them. That is the work, and that is the work, and that's how the communication should be done. Because if there's a table full of people who know nothing about Oakland, full of tables that has no diversity, and it's just full of, white people that are not connected with the culture of Oakland, or just individuals in general who are not connected with Oakland, they have no idea what the needs are. And so they just want to write a check and that's it. But it's way deeper than that.
Exactly. So what do you have in store with them? Like, what's coming up beyond that first event?
So we have an ongoing partnership with Target, and they pretty much left it up to us. They were like, whatever it is that you need, we are here. We want to change these relationships. And at first I was hesitant to partner with Target because they did have a program where it was shop with blue, where they actually would have police officers shop with people in the community, take them to Target. And with the relationships that's going on with law enforcement agencies and the community, that just wouldn't feel right with me, but they have ended that relationship a long time ago. So that is one reason, of course, I was willing to work with them. So we're going to have more community pantries. We have one coming up in 3 weeks. We're going to do it in Deep East Oakland. We're going to try to do it monthly and make sure that we go to underrepresented areas. We posted on our social media so people can see. We had about 500 people come out last Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? We were able to give out 500 kits. And it was everything from diapers, from baby wipes, from cleaning supplies, from food, perishables, everything that they needed, and everyone was so appreciative. So just to be able to show face and not just give a check and not even know if you really care, that is the reason why I decided to really partner up with them. Why Oakland decided to partner up with them, and it will be continuous. So that's what matters.
That's great. Mm-hmm. And Tiffany, you mentioned that you're from the city. You're from San Francisco, and you've been in Oakland for several years now. What have you seen in the differences in communities of the Bay Area, in terms of like how there's been a huge amount of gentrification in San Francisco, and a lot of people see that happening in Oakland as well. And there's this migration of folks from the city who've come to the Oakland area. What do you think that does to culture, and how do we help to preserve culture of different communities while also welcoming people, to communities as well? Because we don't want people to feel unwelcomed, but we also want to keep our communities organic, right? So how do we maintain the ability to keep our communities authentic while also welcoming new people? What do you think about that?
I definitely think, I seen it happen in San Francisco, obviously, and it happened in San Francisco before Oakland, the gentrification of Black neighborhoods, predominantly Black neighborhoods, specifically where I was growing up in the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhood. One thing I think that is very important as far as preservation is for people coming into that neighborhood to respect it. One, respect that you cannot just come into a neighborhood where people have been living for 50 years, where there are 3 or 4 generations of families in these neighborhoods, and just, it's a free for all. You know, we can do what we want. We're going to just, you know, tear things down that are symbolic to the community, tear things down that represent the community. There has to be a coming together, and we have to work together. And you have to respect the feelings of one another and the feelings of people who have been embedded in this neighborhood and heavily invested in this neighborhood for multi-generations and multiple years. I also think that there needs to be a safe space for conversation to happen. It needs to be organized, and it needs to be collaborative on both sides, on the sides of the people who have been in the neighborhood for years, and also on the side of the newcomers who are coming into the neighborhood. So there is a way in which we can all peacefully coexist together. Yeah. And so that's something that needs to be discussed, and that's something that definitely needs to take place.
Yeah. I think change is a beautiful thing. You know, we can't say that growth and change is a beautiful thing. And I think that it's not so much people coming in and building up new buildings and things like that. It's people that are coming into these neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods being a certain type of way, the way that we congregate, the way that we dance, the way that we celebrate, and all of a sudden they come into this neighborhood and they're uncomfortable. And so they want to call the police. And so that's when it becomes an issue, because now you're in these neighborhoods and you want it to be the way that you want it to be. And so it becomes an entitlement. And there's people that have been there 50, 40, 30 years, and all of a sudden now they're uncomfortable in their own neighborhoods. That's what the issue is. So it's not about, we don't want you here. It's just about learn where you're stepping into, learn the history, do some research. You know, there were people here before you.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about Oakland's festival. And obviously we've all been impacted in 2020 by COVID-19. So I know your plans this year were affected, but take back to maybe last year and the year before in terms of what you guys developed, what you produced, and how that brought community together in terms of, you know, really showing Oakland's cultural strength and looking to do in the future, you know, post-COVID, or even now. What do you guys think in terms of how to reach the community and keep things at the forefront?
Mm-hmm. So the Oakland Festival definitely has grown. We started it 3 years ago. It was at the 16th Street Station in West Oakland. Not sure if a lot of you guys who are on here are familiar with that area. It was on the old Amtrak station in West Oakland. And so we started to have it there. So Oakland received a proclamation from Mayor Libby 2016, making July 30th officially So Oakland Day in the city of Oakland. And so with that, we wanted to create legacy, we wanted to create longevity, and I just didn't want it to be like, oh, we have a day and don't do anything about it. I grew up in the era of Festival at the Lake. I grew up in the area of a lot of Black and brown families. That's what I would see around Lake Merritt. And so I wanted to uphold that. I really wanted to bring that back in some type of way. So we wanted to create a festival out of that. I could say the first year was just like our trial run, just trying to see how it would go. And we know how much work it takes to put behind a festival. And so the second year it grew, it got a little better, but last year was the one. Last year was the one. We really teamed up with a lot of people in the community, like Hello Stranger, which is a bar in Oakland. Shout out to Bill and Summer. I love them. They have really stepped up and just supported So Oakland in any type of way. We teamed up. We had Kapoor behind us, Cam Yell. I think it's more so the relationships that you create, the relationships that you create in the community, and the trust factor. And people have really supported this organization, because at the end of the day, I'm Shayla, this is Tiffany, we have Haley, and we're some, Black women from the Bay Area, and we're very authentic, and we remain ourselves, and people love that. I'm not trying to change it. And I think a lot of things with natives is, things are just not like looking the same, and we understand that. So we want to also have these spaces where we are inviting those who are not from out here. Like, we want the culture of Oakland to be beautiful. It's colorful. That's just what Oakland is. Right. And we want to bridge this gap between the transplants and the natives and bring them together and show them, like, this is what Oakland culture looks like. Like, this is like, that's great and all, but that's not how we do. We from the land of the Black Panthers. Like, it's some real true history that revolves around Oakland. And so we were really looking forward to this year because we knew it was probably going to be, last year we had like 6,000 people. So we definitely were looking at about 10,000 people that were going to come this year. A lot of organizations and corporations were trying to reach out to us to get involved. And we were excited about this year, but then COVID hit. And that's okay, you know, and it's that's okay. We were really bummed about it because it was like what's next? Because of course we're not the only ones that are affected by it. Everybody in the events industry is completely affected by it. But it also gave us time to put the work into the community that we really wanted to do, because throwing events can become a lot. And sometimes we neglect on doing the community work personally that we want to do. So I am not mad at all that COVID has affected the festival, because now look at the relationship that we formed with Target. Look at the relief fund that we were able to raise money for to be able to give back to the small Black businesses that were affected by the protests and weren't able to have funds for, you know, rent and any other needs that they have, you know, weren't able to pay for far as because of COVID. So a lot of things have transpired that have been beautiful because we have not been able to throw an event. So our focus is now shifted. So next year is going to be bigger and better because now we have built these relationships. But again, right now we're really focused on the community work.
Okay, no, that makes total sense. So for an organization like us, you know, at the A's, how can we be supportive of Oakland and, you know, your work in the community as it relates to the festival or any other causes that you guys are heading and leading? Because I think for us as an entity, you know, we're the town's only team now, right? With the Warriors today and
Vegas.
You
see, I have to wear my A's hat today.
Thank you. But I had on black today, but no, I mean, it's all good. I don't have today, but everybody knows what time it is. So what we can do, right, as an organization, obviously this is a step in terms of really using our platforms in ways that we haven't done before, with making sure that we're getting, you know, with the community at large around issues and topics that go far beyond baseball. And, you know, that's what we and many other teams around the country have decided to do, is really take a stand and use our voices in a positive way and olive branch as much as we possibly can. So now that we're here, what do you think we can do together to continue this conversation? We're going to be, you know, continuing this particular series with many people, but outside of this forum, what else can we do together, and how can we be supportive?
I definitely believe that having the conversation is the first step, opening the doors to communication, which you guys have obviously done a great job at. So continuing that, and then also focusing on putting an action behind those words. And as far as action goes, I think that looks like being involved in the community, especially the one in which you're in. Where the Oakland A's is located is one of the neediest communities in Oakland, one of the neediest neighborhoods. So just looking at what are the needs of this neighborhood where you guys essentially are rooted. What are the needs of this neighborhood and what you guys can do to help this neighborhood? So that would involve the conversation with the neighborhood, coming into the neighborhood, doing some observation, doing some research, connecting with key partners like Oakland and other organizations in the neighborhood, and supporting them like Shayla mentioned with Target on a consistent basis. Being consistent is all about consistency and building trust. Neighborhoods of, you know, predominantly Black neighborhoods and needy neighborhoods are used to people coming in, helping out, and then leaving and thinking I'm going to be able to rely on this organization or rely on this person, and they can't. So trust needs to be built, and how trust is built is by establishing a solid relationship and being consistent. So the conversation piece is here, and that's great. Now let's work on building trust and really showing up for these neighborhoods and their needs, and that we can showing that you guys, you know, want to help and be involved. So linking up with So Oakland, linking up with other organizations in the neighborhood, and assisting with events, your face, your presence, like putting your face out there, like being present, you know, in the community.
Yeah.
Showing up.
Community feeds, giving back to the homeless.
Yeah.
Like, it's so many things that need to be done, and billion-dollar company like organization like the A's can get it done. So let's continue to make Oakland beautiful.
Right.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's not a rhetorical question. I mean, there's a lot of things that we are doing in the community.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that we should be doing as well.
Absolutely.
As it pertains specifically to communities of color. And that's what this forum is about. And we saw some of those comments earlier, because this is not typical territory for a baseball team, right?
Yeah.
And what we're trying to do is change that narrative.
That's what it's about.
We represent everyone. And last month was Pride Month. You know, so represent that community as much as we represent the Black community, right? And Latinx community and others.
Absolutely.
You know,
that's what makes Oakland.
Right. That's what makes us Oakland, right? And, you know, we are committed to improving that. And, you know, part of our role as our Vice President of Government Affairs is to work with our elected officials and our community-based organizations to continue that pipeline of collaboration, right? And then pretty robust community department as well, headed by Catherine Anker and Stephanie Gaywood. So there are efforts being made, but I think hearing from you guys directly on platforms like this is what, you know, allows the organization and to really have their heard. So I appreciate you guys for doing this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what we were saying. These conversations and just making it more consistent. That right there shows your effort and shows that you care. You know, being at those tables and having people listen to the needs, like what we're telling you now, you could go back to those tables and, hey, this is what So Oakland says needs to be done. This is what X, Y, and Z organization said needs to be done. They are on the ground. They are in these communities and they are a part of it. And so listening to us, because we are Oakland, and the A's, we want to support them, you know, and so we just want to make sure they have our back as well.
100%. 100%. What do you have coming up, you know, for the rest of this year? I mean, looking at, we're in July now, and in the middle of a pandemic. So look like in terms of what we can do in the community collectively? How can we partner? What are the things that you guys are looking to promote and support as we get through this whole thing together?
I definitely think that while we are currently like in the midst of this pandemic and a hard time, I think there is a dark storm coming as far as economically, for this neighborhood, for the country as a whole. And I feel like our community is going to take a big hit. And I mean, they're already taking a hit. Right now, we know some of the biggest needs are childcare, schooling. Like, we don't know what the upcoming school year is going to look like. A lot of kids in our neighborhood, they don't have tablets and computers to be able to attend school via Zoom or online classes. So that's definitely going to be a need with school supplies. A lot of kids don't even have Wi-Fi at home in this neighborhood. So that's going to be a need. A lot of parents are possibly going to still be out of work, or maybe hours have been reduced, so there's going to put a financial burden on that. Housing is then going to be affected. It's like a domino effect of things that are going to take place. A lot of people in the neighborhood don't have health care, so maybe a health care screening or a free clinic where people can, you know, come in for a drive-through clinic, get some testing done, routine and regular medication. A big thing in East Oakland, I know, was that after some of the riots and protests, a lot of like the CVS's and Walgreens and things were closed, and a lot of medication was no longer available to a lot of the older people in the community, the disabled people in the community, and they had no way to go out of their way to another neighborhood to where there was a Walgreens or CVS available to get their medication. So there's a lot now, and I foresee a lot in the foreseeable future that will affect different categories of the neighborhood: education, housing, funds, money, and food being the basic, you know. So a lot of those basic needs are going to be affected and are currently being affected. So in any way that Oakland Athletics can help, or in making partnerships with any other organizations who are out there doing the direct work, that would be great. A food drive, giving away free food.
Teaming up with,
Go ahead.
Teaming up with some of these businesses that have been affected, and maybe doing community feeds, like far as like restaurants and things like that. Like how she was talking about how kids don't have the resources for, you know, tablets and things like that, and a lot of parents having to work and not being able to, or not work, and don't know where their next meal is, and people still waiting for unemployment. There's so many people still waiting for unemployment, and people aren't able, a lot of these businesses aren't able to get the PPE loans. It's just like she said, a domino effect. And so providing breakfast and lunch, or, you know, like for kids and teens and youths who don't, like, we need the nutrition in order for them to continue to grow and to get things done. So that's easy. You know, that's easy for us to put something like that together. So like I said, what's coming up for us right now is just a lot of community give back. That's what we're focused on, because we have been so distracted with throwing our day parties and throwing our festivals and things like that, that now we're like, okay, this is our time where our focus can completely give back, be focused on those in need.
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic, and I think we can on that, because we actually have a landing page on our website. It's athletic.com/BLM for Black Lives Matter, and community resource page that we've developed. So it'd be great to partner with you and add.
Yes, I would love that.
Check it out when we get off of this.
Okay.
Athletics.com/BLM, and it basically provides our one-stop shop for the things that we've done so far as an organization, as well as a list of community resources, organizations that are, you know, doing great work in the community, as well as many of the organizations that we've provided resources to directly that are helping, you know, in Oakland specifically, like the NAACP or the African American Chamber of Commerce, EOYDC, you know, lots of different organizations, 100 Black Men. And that's just a sample of Oakland Indie Alliance. There's so many people that are doing things. We're trying to figure out ways to map it all together, right? So that at least a resource of mapping that guides you as a person to determine how do you want to use your time or your energy and your resources, you know, to support the cause. So that's what we've done thus far, but I'd love to work with you guys to add to that list, as well as figure out what other causes are currently going on in the community that we can promote, you know, through our social channels, as well as volunteer and things of that nature. So I think this is the part of this conversation that for our listeners and viewers is most important. It's like, how do you actually do something? How do you support? We can talk about it. We know what a lot of the problems are, but what are the actions that we need to take as a community? So that's really helpful. And on that same note, just thinking about forward, who else are you guys partnering with in the community on more of a social tip? If it's the Black Joy Parade, like Alicia, other small business owners, like you, Hello Stranger, like who else should we be aware of in the ecosystem of
Mm.
Oakland that we can start to olive branch to and partner with that, may be good resources for the community overall, not just for the A's, but for all of us?
I would say there's Women's Sound Off, of organization by Vange and Carmina. So they started a Women in Music Festival out here in Oakland, but they changed the name to Women's Sound Off. So they do a lot of community give back. I would say them. I would say the Town Experience with Charlize. You said Black Joy Parade with Alicia. I would also say, who's some of the other organizations?
For social events.
You said, for social events. Travis.
Travis, okay.
Definitely
Travis from Bam
Bam
Bam.
Bam, yeah.
Wine and Bow Ties. I don't know if you know Wine and Bow Ties,
Yeah.
but those are pretty much the main organizations that do social events, but also have some substance
Yes.
behind it.
Okay.
And I think when you were saying like some of the things that the A's can do, and I was saying show face, also just like seeing some of the individuals that sit in the higher seats that you probably never see, if they could get out of their comfort zone for a second and show face in some of these spaces, that would be nice.
Absolutely. I'm sure when they report to work or come in, they drive through some of these neighborhoods, but have they ever like been out of the car in these neighborhoods or, had, a meal at one of the mom and pop shops or stopped at a family owned convenience store and, grabbed a bottle of water or supported in that way. So
that would be a cool idea.
Yeah.
To have some of the individuals that sit higher up who you probably never see or talk to, like eating at one of these local restaurants in Oakland, one of these black or brown restaurants, mom and pop restaurants. I think that would be a cool idea too. Just knowing who's in your neighborhoods. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, once the shelter in place is over,
Yes. Because we're going back in.
Well, so our headquarters are based in Jack London Square, so we're right down from Chicken and Waffles and Everett and Jones and many famous black establishments. And I know many of our staff frequent these restaurants and are very familiar with the community. But to your point, there are many merchants and small businesses and restaurants that are scattered throughout Oakland.
Yeah.
Or not just the ones that we're aware of because of our proximity to our office or
Right.
So no, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I would also say, as we look to the future, we recently, when we kicked this series off, we had one of our players. His name is Tony Kemp, second baseman for the A's. He hasn't even played for us yet. He just got here. This will be his first season. And, it was a great conversation with him. He's an African-American player. And we had an opportunity to really dive in and talk about baseball and the importance of, us in the game and his campaign, which is called the Plus One Effect, which is about teaching people about our culture, right? And that may not be obvious to everyone.
Yeah.
So as a call to action, I would love to recruit some of our players and some of our alumni to the series, you guys, and hear from you. And, there are many athletes and sports executives that we're aware of, in the Bay Area from the Warriors and other teams. And some of the concern has been people don't know our guys. So, we want to use this platform as an opportunity to change that as well, because we have great guys.
Yeah.
The A's, some of which are from the area. Stephen Piscotty and Marcus Simeon. Marcus Simeon went to St. Mary's. So, we have people that are rooted in Oakland for real, right? Like many of our front office
From here,
right? Yeah. So, my wife,
yes.
So it's all really organic and we as much as possible. So I don't want to keep you guys, but I just wanted to kind of have some final thoughts with you on, how we think about this opportunity to really get corporate America institutions to really what's going on right now, and not just for the next 6 months, right? Because there's a huge response right now in terms of social justice and ensuring that corporate voices are being heard, right? And making great comments and statements about change. But how do we hold those individuals, those companies accountable moving forward, right? And what do we do as a community as well to take responsibility so we don't take our foot off of the gas and go back to status quo, how things used to be? How do we make sure in this moment that we actually institutionalize change and make Oakland better, make our community better overall? I mean, it's an election year in November. What can we do to really get people out, you know, to vote, to make sure that we're sustaining change and we can see things changing in the future? Like, what do you guys think we should be doing? Like, final thought.
I would say to keep the momentum going, we have to keep the stories out there. We have to keep the needs out there. Using our platforms to definitely shine light on the events, the current state, and everything that's going on within the community. Also, we have to hold not only ourselves accountable, but like you said, other organizations and other people accountable. And that's speaking up and speaking out, saying, you know, 6 months ago, you were down for the cause. Now I've seen you've reverted back to, you know, what you were doing prior. Like, what happened to all that support? Let's keep that support going. We have to call people out, and not just when a major event happens, but keep calling them out, keep checking in with them, and keep holding people accountable for their actions and what they're doing or what they're not doing, based on what they said they would do. Hold people to their word. Hold these organizations and these companies to their word, and using our platform to do so. As far as for the election, in the past, so Oakland has had events called So Vote. And that's something that we're looking to promote and keep going this year, because this is a major election. Like, it's big for, you know, our country, it's big for our community, and it will affect everybody. So Oakland will definitely put something together around that to just encourage people, whether we are still in this pandemic or not, but to get out there and vote, and to get out there and let their, you know, voices be heard. And if that's something Oakland A's would like to partner with us on, that would be great. Like, that would be amazing.
Let's talk more about that, because I think, I mean, that's a great opportunity for us to do something that's not only meaningful, but, you know, it kind of sustains, like you said, the momentum, right? So it's not like we get off this call or this live interview and then we need to come out of this conversation with some actionable results, right? So please sign us up. I think, you know, I can speak on behalf of the organization. We'd love to participate.
Thank you.
Awareness to stimulate, you know, what folks can do to make our communities better. So
absolutely, that's the goal.
And then Shayla, for you, thinking about, you know, what's next and how we come out of this COVID situation, as well as this climate of racial, you know, tension and injustice. I mean, you're well known in the community as a force of energy and good. So how do you want to take this opportunity and just bang on them, you know? How do you want to do?
Wait, you kind of went out a little bit.
How do you want to bang on them? How do you want to bang? That's
so you know, it's very similar to what Tiff said. Like, for me, I'm all about action. I've always been about action. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a hustler. I'm from Oakland. You know, the land of hustlers. We get things done, and holding people accountable is the thing. I think also, you know, checking these companies with their diversity. You know, I know we're saying, you know, we don't want it to go back to the way it was 6 months later, but we also have to understand, if there is a room full of white men and white women who cannot connect with anything but that, it will go back to the way that it was. So it's important that we need to get people of color in these seats and in these high rankings in in these organizations and corporate companies, because that's the only way that the change is going to come. If nobody knows anything about Oakland, or knows anything about being Black, or what it's like to be oppressed, or they have no understanding whatsoever. So it's important that we check them on that, and create the change there, because it needs to start internally and at those tables.
Right.
And the So Go Vote is something we did two years ago. We did it for the local elections. And what we did was we invited all the mayoral candidates that were running at the time, and we held it at Uptown in Oakland. And we pretty much gave them an opportunity to, why should we vote for you? What type of policies and changes are you trying to make? Like, how connected are you with Oakland? And have you been to Deep East Oakland? Have you been to West Oakland before it became gentrified? Like, I need to know what you're about. And are you about the people, or are you only about one, like catering to one type of people? Right. So the So Go Vote is a way for our communities to really find out what it is that we need to do and hearing people out. So but also adding excitement to it and getting people excited, because we know that the man that's currently in there needs to go. Needs to go.
I understand.
I said what I said.
Well, listen, this is a polarizing time, and I think you're right. We need change. We need change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need change. And, looking at what you just mentioned about diversity and ensuring that we have diversity of color, in boardrooms and in.
Yeah.
How do you think we can promote that type of a effort, right? Especially here in Oakland. We can start here. Here in Oakland, what do you think we can do to support that narrative, like going forward? Because a lot of companies in this city actually do have a lot of African American leadership. The CEO.
Okay.
You have several Black executives. Actually,
people don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, and there are other companies. Clorox has a lot of high-ranking Black executives.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there aren't, right, who are based here that don't, or business that aren't headquartered here that also, could do a better job in their diversity. So in terms of like using your platforms and things of that nature, what do you guys think you'll be doing on So Oakland's social handle to continue to promote this conversation and conversations like it?
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, I feel like we do that now, and so we'll just continue. And also, I think that it's important to, like, someone like you, if there were positions that were coming available, to connect with these organizations, and maybe we can able to use our platform to blast it out, like Oakland A's are hiring X, Y, and Z, and then that will be your job to know that, okay, this is our time to create the change right then and there. So connecting with organizations when it's time to hire, and we'll just put the word out. That's the only way right now to use our platform to get that out, is when these big corporations, if they really want to. We want them to,
Right.
We want them to, but it's just using our platform the best way that we can, So
Sure.
Having people in the position like you, who are from Oakland, a Black man, and, trying to create more diversity in the organization, it takes someone to be in the seat. We need people in those seats, because again, that's it. We need people in those seats, because again, if they don't know anything about being raised in Oakland or coming from, poverty or whatever, they cannot relate. And so they have no way of like trying to speak up and learn about something that they don't know nothing about. They never experience. Because I was going to share your experiences on, the only Black. Yeah. Okay.
This conversation, I mean, I feel like we just really scratched the surface today, because there's so many levels to where we need to go in this conversation. I mean, we experienced it, you know, when the comments were going through, and you know, I'm trying to be politically correct, and
Right.
you know, because it's my job.
Right.
I want to keep it real that, you know, that's why we have this platform, and I want people who are still tuned in to understand that, you know, we're not going to let any hate, you know, any racism,
No,
you
no.
know, stop the movement of progression. And you know, our community, the Black community, has endured over 400 years of injustice in this country. Indigenous people have endured hundreds of years of injustice, and we're not tolerating it anymore. So I
No.
raised,
No.
but first and foremost, I'm a Black man, right? And it's my responsibility to take this moment to acknowledge you women, you Black
Thank
women, sisters. I appreciate your time
Thank
and
you.
Thank you.
your candor, because we need to showcase this, you know,
Thank you.
to everyone who's willing to listen and watch, and ensure that not only do we put pressure on corporate America,
Yeah.
but we have pressure on companies like Facebook and Instagram and
Yeah.
all right here in the Bay Area that does the diversity that we just talked about, right?
Yeah. It's needed. It's needed.
Right. This isn't just a conversation about the A's or so Oakland. You know, we're just representatives of a conversation that involves our ancestors, right? So I want to thank you guys for taking some time out, and please let everybody know where they can find information out about you personally or so Oakland. Please shout out your website, hashtag, whatever that is. Tell them really quick.
Yes, you can find us at SOOAKLAND, SOOAKLAND, or on our website, www.sooakland.com. And I'm Shayla, this is Tiffany, and we're missing Haley. She couldn't be here, but yes.
Haley,
Thanks,
And this
guys.
is Benji. And this is Benji.
hey. You.
Benji's our
Well,
mascot.
that's the mascot.
Yes.
That's what's up. So I want to figure out, once we wrap, let's talk, because I want to help expand our platform in conjunction with you guys, our athletics.com Black Lives Matter page, because I think
Okay.
that's a course that we can cross-pollinate across,
Yeah.
you know, this entire conversation and
Yes.
getting started, you know, with what we are embarking upon as an organization, and we want to represent town to the fullest. So I appreciate you ladies for giving me a moment with you.
Yeah.
Happy 4th of July. Happy Juneteenth, because we just
Happy
celebrated.
Juneteenth. Happy 4th of
Juneteenth.
July. Thank you for all the people that tuned in. We're
Yes.
open to listening, all the positivity, and hopefully even the ones with the negative things to say. Hopefully we said something that maybe shift your little thought process a little bit. A little bit.
Right.
All right, ladies.
All right, bye. Bye, you guys.
Thank you. Bye.